Hi, I'm RC Jim. Petrolheads love to constantly be souping up their engines and getting more power and even swapping out engines. And I saw on a video a fellow that had one of these Freewing FA-18s, and he put a FMS 90mm ducted fan into it. And given that I had some problems with lack of power, and given that even when it's going well, it's less than a 1-to-1 power to weight ratio, and the actual plane has a greater than 1-to-1 ratio at sea level, I thought, yeah, let's get an FMS ducted fan and try it. So we've done that. And in this video, we not only show you what's involved in putting it in, and it's not an exact fit as far as replacement goes, but it's certainly very doable. So we show you how to go about doing it, and then we compare the performance to see whether it's really worthwhile or not. So, watch and learn. Well, time for surgery. Dr. Jim, without a scalpel, but with a screwdriver. Thing does act as a bit of a vacuum cleaner. Oh, that's what those 2 screws were for. I saw 2 screws in my parts bin, and I thought, oh, what did I miss? And I just realized that I've added longer screws on these 2 things, and that's what those other 2 screws have been. It's always a bit of a challenge getting this thing loose. Okay. Parts bin. Screws all go in there. Now to get the ducted fan out. Got 6 screws, 3 on a side. Ducted fan just picks up. And get this nice shrink tube on these things. Okay, we'll try to cut them apart, cut the shrink tube where the 2 things meet. Never a good place to set this thing. And of course it makes dents in the airplane. Now this one, the ESC is, or the fan is going to come loose. And I cut it off. So, there's our old fan. FMS 90mm Chinese. Can you read that? I can't. Okay, very pretty looking unit. FMS made in China. We got a, oops. We got a Predator 4068 1850 kV. Motor. It says compared to a Freewing 3668 1960 kV. So this is going to run a little bit faster, so 1850 RPM per volt compared to 1960. And then it's a little bit bigger. The first number is typically the diameter, either the rotor or the case, depending on how they measure things. And then the 68 is the length. So it should be the same length and a tiny bit bigger around, which is true. Okay. So technically you'd expect that one to develop a bit more power, spin a little bit faster. Interesting, the design of the fins. Got the little bit of a curvy thing happening there. As far as the stator goes, we've got 7 things, and on the Freewing you've got 5. The stator on the Freewing has got a curve on the airfoil to help straighten out the air. On the FMS, it's got a slight curve as well. It's straight on the very end, but it's curved up near the front. And on the end, that's coming straight with an airplane, but a little bit curved going up. So you've got the rotating airflow coming from the fan, the curve in that direction that the air is coming from, so that helps guide the air back and straighten it out and give you more direct thrust, and that's the case with both of these, although yeah, that one, yeah, that's correct. That's going towards the fan. This is going towards the fan. This one has a curve all the way to the back. So at the very back, it's still trying to straighten the air out more. So without a wind tunnel or whatever, it's hard to say which one is better. FMS has got an aluminium thing. The Freewing was plastic. Okay, now we don't know which way to put these things, so we're going to have to do a bit of testing here to get our motor rotation going right. Okay, those are all fine. And this part's going to rotate. Nice solid magnets in that. What's this one like? Yeah, I'd say stronger magnets in the FMS.
Welcome to HTX. Flight mode 1. Throttle cut. Flaps up.
Okay. We'll plug her in. And all the control surfaces free to move, so we're not going to damage anything.
Flaps down.
Okay. Let's see which way this thing decides to go.
Pressure active.
That's backwards.
Pressure cut.
It's blowing it out this way. It should be blowing it that way. So you need to swap two of the leads. ESC still looks nice and secure. Yeah. ESC needs to come farther back. Okay, that's one of those things they don't tell you about. Okay, the leads are too short for this particular motor, so I've soldered together some little extensions, and we're going to put these things on there. Let's see, with this one I'm going to use black, just because I don't have any blue that's big enough to go over all of that. And when that gets on there, yeah, okay, I'll just do it like that. I'll leave a little bit of blue so that I can see that that's blue. Okay. And down there. Nice snug fit for all of them. Okay, now we got to get our battery compartment, or not a battery compartment, our fan compartment all insulated with the cloths. Okay, that ought to do the job. Okay, so we've used our heat gun to shrink them all down with it all protected, making sure not to direct the heat gun against any of the foam. Now let's see about our fit. Okay, get our ESC back in where we wanted it. Okay, trial fit before I put the toothpicks in. Okay, holes don't line up with the Freewing holes. Feels like just a tiny bit bigger. Let's try putting a cover on it and see what that looks like. Okay. So that'll work. It's just maybe a mil or two bigger than the other one. As you can see, it's not quite down on the mounts. And if the plywood only lines up with one of the holes, they like to make life interesting, don't they? Now let's see, that clamps. Oh, okay. Okay, you can see that these things here don't quite match up. So we'll clear that out a little bit. So, in looking at these supports, I can't move this thing really. The metal tabs on here, we've got one hole that is kind of adjacent to the plywood, but doesn't come out as far, and the other one that's right on the edge between the plywood and the styrofoam. So I suppose we'll add another hole and we'll have 4 screws instead of 6. You'd think they'd make these things standard, but anyway. Okay, it certainly feels snug on the foam. So let's mark the foam. Oh, that's actually hitting on a cable down there. You got to make sure that your cables are down in the channel and not getting pinched by the bottom of the motor shell. Okay, so I got one there. Unfortunately, the whole thing is clamped in there with a foam. Put it like there and there. Okay, let's drill some holes. Okay, here's what we've done. We've added a hole there. We began by drilling the hole that we're going to thread into, and we drilled these back ones here. And get that in place. We drilled the 2 back ones, and then we drilled a small hole clear through. I drilled one, and then I put a piece of wire in it just to make sure it stayed in place, and then I drilled the other one. Then after we had those holes drilled, then I took this little strip of plywood and I put it underneath there so that I could drill and have it go into this without enlarging the hole in the plywood below it. So we're going to have 2 screws on each side holding it down. Plus it's going to have the foam around it with the 4 screws on it there, and I think that's going to be quite all right. We have got the ESC in position to where it's got the rod going across the double stick tape bit, and we got the 2 pins in the side of it to hold it in place. As you look at the ESC in there, you can see that we've put in 2 blocks of wood with a carbon fiber rod epoxied into them, running across the sides. And then those in turn are Gorilla Glued in place. And then we've put 2 barbecue skewers stuck into the side to hold down this rearmost end of the ESC. The wires, leads go down into that channel, make sure they go there. We get this in place, and now we're ready to get our screws in. I'm using much larger screws. Length isn't so much an issue, but I want as much bite as I can get into the timber below it. So these are as large as you can get into the holes that FMS put into their ducted fan unit. And so I think that's a reasonable thing to go by as to an appropriate size of the screws, especially given they only use 4 instead of 6. Get them all started, and then we can run them down. Okay, so double checking, the cables are down in the channel. ESC is in place with the pegs in there and the rod going across the front of it. Now we need to relieve the foam a bit where we got this overlap. Yeah, we'll just cut that out. Okay, in doing this cutout, I'm just using a fine-tooth blade on a hobby knife, and it cuts quite nicely into there, so get it down to the level that we want. And then we'll just go in this way. Okay, that should do the job. By the way, when I was drilling the holes in the aluminium housing here on the ears out on the side, I drilled the hole, got the drill out, did not blow on it, but I got the vacuum cleaner and sucked up all of the aluminium shavings. I'm sure the motors don't particularly like the idea of eating aluminium shavings, so the idea is to keep it clear of all that type of thing. It's not as critical as iron shavings. Iron shavings would stick to the magnet, and you'd want to exercise additional care for that. But still, even aluminium, you don't want it eating that. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's pretty well down where it was before. And just a tiny bit proud there, but pretty good. So let's find our screws for that. Yeah, we got 2 longer ones and 2 shorter ones, don't we? Yeah. Short ones in here. And long ones on the side. Okay. That's all buttoned up. The new battery, we're starting at 99%, 25.17 volts.
Welcome to HTX, Flight Mode 1, Throttle Cut, Flaps Off.
HRB. 25.16 volts, 99%, power on, armor throttle.
Throttle active.
3.24 kilos. It quickly went down to about 3.1. Okay, we're ready for our flight test with the FMS ducted fan. HRB 6S 5000 100C battery, brand new, 25.13 volts and 98%. Turn our radio on.
Welcome to HTX, Flight Mode 1.
Okay, everything's safe. Hook up our battery. Okay, get the power turned on for the meter. Yeah, okay, on the throttle. 2.91 maximum. Okay, now we'll do the cruise. Well, we'll do one more test with the full power. That got up to 3.1. So sometimes this thing will lock itself before it gets there, and it ended up at 2.97. I think the first one is invalid, so a good thing we double check that. Okay, let's check it again. 3, and again leveling out at 2.97, and we're now down to 24.44 volts. Well, I trust that this has been helpful for you, and I suppose your conclusion is that why bother? But it's good to know that. I didn't until I actually was able to do the testing. So anyway, enjoy your plane and your flying, and you have a great day. Make sure you subscribe on the little circle on the left if you haven't done that, and see the link to our next video on the right. Have a great day.